All right, friends. So which is a better deal in your opinion? You can be wrong, it's fine. Huh? You like pizza in general, so like either one works? Which one's a better deal?
The first one.
The first one. Why do y'all say the first one? One slice versus a whole pizza? Yeah, I can. So y'all kind of are a little split on this, right? Like some people are saying the first one, some people are saying the second one, some are like, I'm not sure. Okay, so today what we're going to talk about, is, hey friend, we're going to talk about area of a sector. Okay, so okay, so we're going to solve for the arc length and the area of a sector. So really quick, on your paper, you're going to write previously derived the formula of the area for the sector area. Circle the parts of the formula that would change if the angle is measured in radians instead of degrees. Okay, so what I would write on your paper is this sector area equals the angle divided by 360 times the circle area. Okay, so go ahead and take a second. You're writing that down on your paper. Hold on one second. Okay, so really quick, we actually have talked about this last week, just a little bit, but circle the part that would change if the angle is measured in radians instead of degrees. What part would change if we were doing this in radians instead of degrees? Well, Kayla asked a really good question. She said, what was this little symbol with the circle and the little line through it? Okay, no, it's not zero. Okay, this means angle, and it's measured in degrees normally, unless it's like previously stated. Y'all are talking about zero as in like this cross through. That's not it. Okay, I'm talking about this, which is theta. Okay, it's a Greek symbol. Okay, now the part that would change if it was measured in radians instead of degrees is this part up here, this little angle part. Okay, that would be actually different. Okay, so again, you should have written down the formula. Okay, and it is the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, and you're multiplying it times the angle divided by 360. Okay, so basically this is saying take the area of the circle, but only do it for this many degrees. Okay, so now we're going to actually try this out. We're going to try a practice problem. Okay, so on here, even if you didn't get it down, that's okay. I'll write it down. So it is area of a sector is equal to theta divided by 360 times pi r squared. What I want you to do is I want you to draw this figure, and I want you to write down this stuff, and we're going to find the area of the shaded region in just 1 second. We talked about on Friday, we talked about radians, okay? And we talked about how radians can be related to degrees, okay? So with that being said, we found out that 360 is the same thing as 2 pi. Does that make sense? Okay, so since they tell us that our angle is in radians, we're going to write 2 pi instead of 360 here. Okay, so in the formula, you normally have 360 down here, but if it's written in radians, you're now going to write this out as the angle divided by 2 pi times pi r squared. And then we're going to plug in the information. So they tell us that EF, which is the radius, is 6 centimeters. Okay, so we're going to plug that in for R. And then they tell us that the angle is pi over 3, and we're going to divide that by 2 pi. Okay, so I'll let you take a second, finish writing that down. Now this looks like a hot mess. Simplifying this looks a little tricky. I would suggest plugging this into a calculator, but if you want to simplify without using a calculator, you can't. You see how there's a pi in the denominator here, and there's a pi up here? Those two will cancel. Okay. And then we've got pi over 3 divided by 2. So this is just another way of saying take pi over 3 and multiply it times 1/2, because you're going to use keep, change, flip. Do we understand where that's coming from? Okay, so that would give us pi over 6, and we're still going to multiply it times 6 squared, which 6 squared is just going to give us 36. So this is going to be 36 pi over 6. Well, this can simplify down, and we get 6 pi. So here it is again. We plugged in, we canceled anything out that we could, and then we simplified. We can multiply straight across and then divide. We have something else called arc length. Okay, this is how long the measurement is. Okay, so for instance, we've previously learned we can find the degree of this angle or this arc, but we want to find the distance between here to here. Okay, so this is the formula for arc length. Go ahead and take a moment, write it down. Notice how it's similar to area of the sector. The only difference is circumference versus area. Take a second, you're writing that formula down. This is okay, so given this information, we're trying to find the length of the arc, also known as the arc length. Okay, remember our formula is going to be our angle, and since it's measured in radians, we're going to divide it by 2 pi, and we're going to multiply it by the circumference. So that's going to be 2 pi r. And they tell us that AO is 9. AO. And they tell us that this angle is 2 pi divided by 3. So again, all you're going to do is you're going to substitute in. And so this is going to give us 2 pi divided by 3 divided by 2 pi times 2 pi multiplied by 9. Now this looks like a hot mess. And again, some of this stuff might cancel. Well, we have a 2 pi down here in the denominator. We got a 2 pi up here in the numerator. So what are we left with? Well, we have 2 pi times 9, which will give us 18 pi. And we have a 3 in the denominator. So I can simplify this, and this is going to give me 6 pi. I know, fascinating, right? Okay, now one thing to pay close attention to. Notice how this said 6 pi, and on the last one, I think we also got 6 pi. Okay, on the last one, we were dealing with area, so that's going to be yards squared. This one, we're dealing with arc length, so this one is just going to be yards. Okay, so you can notice that the units will tell you a lot about whatever you're trying to find. If it said yards squared, that would be the area of something. But since it just says yards, that's going to be that arc length. Okay, now the easiest way to get good at this kind of stuff is to practice. Okay, so we're going to take a couple of minutes and we're actually going to practice this. You're going to need your laptop probably for this because I didn't print this one out. Okay. All right, so what you're gonna do here, ready? I'm gonna give you the instructions as you're pulling out your laptop. Okay? Shh. Okay, so you're gonna start with this question. You're gonna answer this question. You're finding the length of the arc. Then what you're gonna go do is find the answer on one of the other slides. Okay, so like let's say this is that answer. Now you'll answer this question and then go find the answer on another slide. If you don't find the answer, guess what? You probably did it wrong. Notice how all of these are in radians though. Okay, there's only 10 problems, so it won't take you super long. Okay, we're gonna do the first one together though. That way we start off on the right foot. Okay, so on your paper, it says find the length of the arc. So what formula am I gonna use? Okay, so the angle divided by 2 pi times 2 pi r, right? And I'm gonna substitute in the information that they give me. I'm gonna pause the video and I want you to try. All right, so let's talk about it a little bit. You wanna try it? Okay, yeah, my bad. Go ahead, yeah. Okay, so really quick, if you plug this into your calculator, you're probably gonna get a decimal unless you have a TI-84, okay? That's the calculator that Amy has in her hand. Okay, so really quick, you're listening, listening. Okay, so when I simplify this though, I can hit, like if your calculator has a math button on it, it literally says, like I'm not kidding, it says math. If you hit math, and then you go to fraction on that screen, and then you hit enter twice, you should be able to get it in fraction form. Okay. Now each calculator is a little different depending on which one you have. Like if you have a TI-83 versus 84 versus an 87, they all do it a little differently. However, you can hit math, fraction, enter, and you should get 45 divided by 4. I would leave off the pi. Good. I would leave off the pi until probably the very end. Okay. Now notice how that's the answer on the next page. Okay. So here, and then what I want you to do is find the length of the arc on this one. Okay. Be very careful when they give you some information and they're asking for something else. In this one, they're asking for this arc, okay? But sometimes they'd be asking for the baby arc, okay? Go ahead and take a couple of minutes. Go ahead and work on those problems.